Welcome back for part 3 of how Angelo stopped being a Christian, or more accurately, left Christianity. I could never really say I entirely bought into it. I bought into it because I thought I was supposed to. So I was talking about how at 19, basically, I had finally realized, it's okay to try and care for myself, which was not even how I put it. It just, I had to do this to save my mind, to save my life. And from then on out, I considered everything I did something I wasn't supposed to be doing, meaning I wasn't supposed to live past that. God was trying to rip me out of my body, to kill me, to be with him. He couldn't wait for me to be with him. Other people he could, but not me. So that's why I had this terrible panic attack and this searing pain for 18 months that culminated with me watching Panic Room on DVD, the David Fincher film starring Jodie Foster, Forrest Whitaker, Kristen Stewart, Dwight Yoakam, and Jared Leto, Patrick Buckow, and realizing in that moment it's okay to, I'm going to reclaim my life and my senses. So I was going through, especially 19 and then 20, terrible fears that I'm evil, that I just abandoned, that everything I do is wrong, and I was scared that everyone else was doing was wrong and evil. Because I thought, well, how can they live too? Obviously, they shirked off God, just as I believed that I had. Again, knowing now that it's all mental illness, it was nonsense and trauma and a lot of unresolved issues. And I still always have this feeling like I'm not supposed to live past that point. I wasn't supposed to. Because even though I know it's not true, you can't unreason stuff that, been so deeply embedded in you. For first 18 years of my life, I was believing this stuff, that it's like wet cement. Once it's set, you can work with it, you can work around it, but it's always there. And this feeling of, I'm just trash, I'm just useless, I'm a loser, I'm stupid, I was so worthless, God wanted to destroy me, but yet so great, God needed me. And everyone else who's Christian, they get the easy way. So that was the contradiction for me that made me realize I have to abandon this. I cannot believe this crap that God needs some people so badly, but not the other ones. The other ones can live just as if there was no God and just go to church 1 hour a week, whatever, and then, that's the same as giving up their life for God as the person who, suffers miserably for months and years. Whether it's due to whatever, persecution or mental illness. The demons are after me. So I had a horrible time with that, feeling lonely, feeling like I was evil, and wanting to stay away from people because I was so concerned that I was evil, like I should not inflict my evil on anybody. I remember this girl I knew, I saw her at the mall. She was really nice. She was like, "Oh, hi, Angelo, how's it going?" I was like shocked. I was like, what? I hadn't seen her in a few months or something. Just somebody I knew. And I was like, "Oh, hey, whatever." At that point, I had not even learned to say to people, "Hi, how are you doing?" Whatever. I didn't know how to approach people. By the way, a better way of approaching people, I've learned to say, "Hi, what's your name?" That's better, because hi, how you doing? People can shirk off, and it's considered fine. Like, if you don't answer it, it's like, no big deal. How you doing? I say, how are you doing? That's it. But if you say, what's your name? That's better, because then they have to give a name. And it seems like a lot of times people appreciate it when you ask, hey, what's your name? Like, it's like you're saying, hey, I like you. I want to know, about you. But I had no clue how to approach people, greet people, nothing. Amazing. God, the Lord of the universe. All right, I'll stop doing my corny preacher voice. And that was a common character in sketch comedy when I was younger. The outspoken Southern preacher character. What happened to that? Kids in the Hall even had a sketch about that, saying, what happened to the Southern preacher character? Used to be a popular character. They don't do it as much anymore. I think it's just played out. What the hell was I talking about? So, I was left with this horrible feeling like I'm not supposed to exist, I'm not supposed to live. I'm just utterly lost. And I was in excruciating pain too over something else. I just went through horrible experience, believing my life was over. It was causing me, I had an anxiety attack. I had to leave class, go to the hospital. I was hyperventilating. I won't say what I went through, but it was devastating for years. I was in horrible pain. Finally, because at 20, I was thinking, okay, I'm learning how to be a person again. I went out with some girl. Turned out she just wanted to be friends too. I was surprised by that. I was like, really? You have a boyfriend? Like, why would you hang out with me? It was kind of weird, but whatever. I had made it such a self-imposed rule that I took it for granted that you're not supposed to hang out with people or anything. It was shocking to me that people went out and did stuff and have fun, whatever. I was like, oh yeah, I can call someone up and do something. Horribly lonely. Last 2 years of college, in a lot of pain. And eventually I met someone who I really liked, and she encouraged me to go to church, like a non-denominational one. I went a little bit. I couldn't bring myself to go too much because I was like, it was starting to turn up these horrible feelings in me again. But it was kind of this anesthetic thing too. Like, oh, it's okay if I fail, it's okay if I don't have ambition, whatever, because it's like there's a church where you can be yourself, but of course it's always something more you need to be and do. And I started having those delusions again, and so I stopped, but it's like the seed was already planted. So by 22, bam, had another anxiety attack. I was like, oh no, I know what this is. And it was also so hard to deal with this feeling that, like, I want to be a good person, but I feel like I'm so evil because the devil wants me and God abandoned me. So hard to deal with me. I would get so sad and hurt thinking, like, I can be a nice person to someone, I can be friendly and open, and go into myself and have the worst, darkest thoughts and thinking I'm evil. And it's going to hurt, I'm going to hurt someone else, not physically, but just somehow hurt them with this malignancy that I have and that I am. Are you all getting how great Christianity is yet, by the way? Is it making that impression on you? How wonderful it is? How could you ever walk away from it? Wow, pretty amazing. Where the hell am I? At least I'm not thinking about this cold or whatever that I have. So, I had that anxiety attack again. Now, in a way it wasn't as bad, but in a way it was worse than the one at 18. Because, excuse me, this time I thought, oh no, I don't have the strength or resilience to get through this time, to emerge from it. Before, I always had that, like, kernel of, this power of myself that could eventually emerge out of this and overcome. So this was truly brutal, painful, searing, couldn't sleep a lot, couldn't eat, couldn't be myself, desperately wanted to feel emotions from movies again. It felt like I was choked off. And here's the other thing, trying to get involved in church again, did nothing, only made it worse. Tried, it was just no help. Only made things worse, exacerbated things. And here's the thing, in my head I thought, well, maybe I had always denied God, maybe I was a liar and God really existed, because I hadn't really yet studied history or science, politics, understood what a lie Christianity was. Built on lies, errors, mistruths, on prejudices, on warring factions. And I had only grown to believe one specific account of it, thinking that, oh, that's just how the world is. So think about it. If Christianity is so true, why would its adherents teach something so incorrect to me about it? Oh, here's a shot for a thumbnail. Let me get this real quick. So, a lot of noise, confusion, putting my glove back on, misery, anguish. I'm not, I can't complain, like I'm complaining about it, but like I can't say it's worse with someone, because there are people who go through such brutality at those ages, and it's me moping to say like, well, I don't know what it's like to be 18 or 19 and to be out, to be with friends, to date, what the hell is that? I have no idea. I was a prisoner practically, and yet there are people who have been prisoners, who starved to death at that age, who are raped, tortured, abused, drug addicted. So, it's not fair to them. I can only speak for myself, on myself, my truth, what I've been through. I cannot say anything, and I don't want it to sound like I'm denigrating suffering of others. I'm only referring to myself. So, just keep that in mind. I'm not trying to, compare what I've been through as worse than someone else who may have endured horrors that I can't understand and been a better person than I am, or wherever they are in their life. It doesn't matter. What am I? I'll leave it for others to decide, really. All I can do is try and know myself. And these are feelings, by the way, I suppress in myself every day. I've gone through years of therapy, reading books, self-help, sales techniques to motivate myself, building up my career, trying to relate to others. There's still a part of me that just always doesn't care, just doesn't give a damn about relating to others. Like, I don't even want them in my life. It's like touching a part of me that I don't want touched. But I know, hey, you can't complain endlessly. You've got to deal with the cards that you're played. So yeah, if it's tougher for some people have it even tougher. Some people have chronic conditions, can't move, major illness, painful illness, expensive, especially in this country, to treat, and lack of proper medical care. So, got to respect that. It's not something, I mean to, in any way, like comment on, other than to, to respect. I'm only talking about my experience. But my experience it was so sad, thinking, I don't even know what it's like to be 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, going through this horrible other trauma that just, oh my goodness. That also made me not want to live. And then 22, getting another anxiety attack, and thinking, oh no, it's happening again. But this time I'm just totally numb. As opposed to before, it was searing pain. This time I was numb. So in a way, it was even worse. I had no strength, no voice to reach out and speak out against what I was going through. I went through a year of that. It was horrible. Just terrible. Really, the only way I managed to sort of snap out of that, and it was still years after that to recover, and then setbacks and go forward, was I was involved with a woman long distance who was abusive, and going through that abuse and not knowing how to stand up for myself, stuff for months. After a while, it kind of shocked, that pain. That's why it's like I kind of hated myself, because I was like, why is the only thing that can get me going pain? Like, to make me feel like a regular person. But that pain gave me something like a core to build around, in a way that I can feel stuff again. Not that I'm like a total masochist or anything, but realize, it built up the emotions in me to where I had stuff to respond to. It kind of shocked me back into existence, and it got me feeling, oh, I got to be responsible for my life again. Still tough, still painful. I hated myself. If I would be out, I would try and meet people, meet women, and if I had a good experience, be out, meet a woman that I liked, and liked me, I'd go home and cry. Oh my goodness, this is a steep drop. Okay, I'm not getting too close to that. Thumbnail. But I would just be miserable because I hated myself. Dated a good woman for a month. I was shocked by how nice she was. Like, I didn't know people could be that nice, and I couldn't handle it. Like, I would be reticent, keep back. Like, if she would reach out to me, I would be scared, recalling in my mind the emotions that the abusive woman put me through, and I would get mad. Not at her, I would never show it, but I would, like, if she would text me something nice, I was like, fuck, why is she doing this? Like, it hurt me. I didn't know how to relate, so I would just like stiffen, myself and just sort of say something that sounded nice enough, like, yeah, I'll see you soon or something. And then she broke up with me. That was crushing. Really crushing. It was like, I felt like the biggest loser, because I was like, well, now, thank goodness it was not the religious trauma I was dealing with. I did deal with that some during that period. It was painful. But I was feeling like, okay, on top of, it's like punishment on top of going through all these unfair circumstances. I can never whine. It's like it's dirty and profane to me to say they're unfair. That's life. People don't get a fair shot necessarily. Some people have problems with their health, regulating their weight, their minds, or live in poverty, or so you can't, it's unfair to me. Like, so as I said that, I didn't like saying that. Strike that from the record. But it felt like punishment on top of already so much pain inflicted on me. Like, wow, because I went through such screwed up circumstances. It was like I was being told, oh, sorry, you're not good enough. Actually, I need someone who's been through better. But hey, that's what life is, and you know what? It's for the best. It'll still always hurt me, and I'll always be glad at the same time for that experience. But that crushed me for years, and really, like I said, it still hurts me. Oh. But so, okay, skipping forward here. I felt like I was back in my life. I couldn't believe I was having a second chance, even though it was horribly empty. Feeling the grief of not being able to regulate my emotions. I only dated that woman for a month, and I felt so attached, and yet I couldn't even bring myself to be close to her. And then by 2012, had my next panic attack, or anxiety attack, whatever. I was in a hotel in Atlanta. I felt like for once, finally things in my life are going all right. I quit my job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I was being a videographer full time, making occasional YouTube videos. I wasn't that into it back then. Ooh, I need some water. And I felt myself slipping away because it was as if I can control these like tectonic plates in my mind, where it's like, if I latch onto my feeling of responsibility for my life and control for myself, then I feel so much worse the pain of failure and rejection and knowing I didn't succeed and live up to my potential. And there was still this thing in my mind that wanted to go to this religious place and these Christian notions, because I thought, well, then it's like, it doesn't matter, fail, lose, whatever, it's all forfeit, it all means nothing, you're a good person, you're loved, whatever. But it's always something that's elusive. You can never find it. Once you think you've seen it, it disperses into a million pieces. Something about me, I was just going back towards that, trying to have some semblance of comfort from my fear, my paranoia, my anxiety. And really, I wasn't living up to my potential. I don't think anyone ever really does, or maybe they do, but I was still limiting myself so much. But in a way, I have to go through things the hard way to learn. Like, I don't know how I'd be where I am now if I didn't go through this. So, I don't like music. And in the Atlanta hotel room, all of a sudden in my head, Lady Gaga's Bad Romance started blaring in my head really loud. And I don't hate her or anything. I think she's incredibly talented. You got to be a genius to do that. I just don't like it. It's like music is like noise in my head. It's like intrusive. It's confusing. It's like it's messing with me. like a mockery. So much song, it's just music is so insipid. Anyways, I heard it blasting in my head, and I felt just like searing pain again. But it was even worse than before, because I thought, oh no, I think I could go through this again. And now I'm getting sick. Now every moment, agonizing and painful. And worst, I was trapped in Atlanta, having to work fashion shows for the next week. Searing pain, desperate to clear these painful feelings out of my head, because I couldn't feel myself again. I couldn't enjoy anything. I was lucky I was able to still film, and while I filmed I was sort of distracted, but it was like a jagged vice, like digging into me, and it could loosen up a tiny bit, but it was getting so hard, so painful. After a month, and I went back to Virginia, I had to quit. I had to quit videography. It was so painful, I had no choice but to tell my client that I just could not do it anymore. I was barely functioning. It was excruciating. Stuff like that, it was so weird. Talking like this, which I'm enjoying to, I could not do. It would have, and it's scary to think about. It like tore me open. It not tore me open really, it like put me in a vice. Excruciatingly painful. After a month, I couldn't drive my car anymore either. My senses were becoming so bad. I knew if I drove my car, I would crash it, because I could not bring myself to react properly to stimulus around me. I would not be able to put the brakes on at a red light. I was driving home and had to get someone else to drive me 40 miles home, because it happened while I was driving home and I was at a red light. I was like, oh no! Like I was desperate to keep my foot slammed down on the brake, because I could not, reality broke away. And it was this Christian delusion, even though by then I was pretty firmly atheist. So that was excruciating. Thinking okay, after a certain point, it was. And here's the thing, Christianity, you say it's a free will. You have to accept faith as a gift. I couldn't. Not only I could not really believe, but at a certain point it was so vividly, exquisitely painful, that I just had to, in my mind, beg God and pray to God. I wasn't praying, I can't do it, I don't believe in it, but begging God for some relief, some brief respite from this pain. That was what the next 9 months were like, or 8 months, because I'd already been through 1 month, but it was 9 months total. Going through bouts of, I know this is bullshit, I don't believe in this crap, but I have to throw myself onto it. Now, why would God want somebody who doesn't believe in them, but does it just to avoid pain? Isn't that hypocritical? Wouldn't that be selfish and a self-centered motive? Isn't that not coming from the noble, pure motive of the gift of faith? But, oh, by the way, you can never properly believe. Faith is a gift given to you. So do you ask for it? Or if you ask for it, is that like playing God like a pagan god, and you have to just wait to receive it? It's always an endless loop of contradictions meant to keep you paralyzed by fear if you take it seriously. In my mind, it goes to the most serious fucking places. So I was in terror, desperately trying to go to church, practically screaming in pain for relief, and not getting it. And I wanted to kill myself. I went to the mental hospital, and became unable to sleep, and I talked about this in a previous video, where I was sleeping 45 minutes a night for about 1 month because I had akathisia, which is like compulsive pacing. Even after that, another several months, excruciating pain, horrible vertigo, horrible fear of being alone. Meaning being alone in a room, being in the bathroom alone. I was scared to shave or shower. Now I love it. I like being alone. But I was terrified. Desperately trying to get some relief. No matter what, I could not believe in God. It's just garbage. But yet, I had that compulsion in me. So again, Christian, why would God make someone so insane that they could not be near him? The answer is, there's no basis for believing any of it. It's mental illness. It's, our brains are formed from millions of years of evolution, and that's nothing in the way of a guarantee that they'll function well. So, as bad as it is, I also view this, as painful and lonely as it is, as a great asset. For whatever reason, I take things so seriously and so into them and deeply. It's allowed me to have this life with film. I wouldn't have a life without film. My life would be nothing. It wouldn't matter what I do, how many people I meet. It wouldn't be worth living. It would just be meaningless. Film is what makes everything worth it. Thank goodness. If I was living before film, maybe it would be plays, books. But I'm sure I would have been thirsty for film when it came around, realizing, oh, cameras can do this now. And photography. I do love photography too. So many things in my day. How many make time for everything? But I love being on set, taking pictures, and imagining what the picture here's like if it was a film playing. So 9 months of that was some of the worst pain I've ever been through. In a way, it wasn't worse than the pain at 18, because at 18 I thought, oh, I never lived my life. My life is over. And I didn't know, like I never got to enjoy it. At least by 27, I'd barely lived it. I still barely enjoyed it in a way, but like I had gotten to see a little bit of what having a life was like and being a little bit of an adult was like. So the emotional pain in a way wasn't as bad. It was the physical. Even though I don't know what was physical about it, it felt like knives were in my back. It was excruciating. I was screaming a lot. I could not sit down much because especially when I had the akathisia, because if I'd sit down, I'd be slamming my foot down. I was constantly exhausted, but couldn't sleep. Because if I lied down, I'd get that restless akathisia, like this. Like I would be lying down, imagine I'm lying down like, I gotta get up and keep pacing. But as soon as I pace, I'd be so fucking exhausted. I'd practically fall asleep standing up, but I couldn't fall asleep because I had so much of this energy. Are you getting how great God is yet? None of you Christians can explain this. None of you a lot of you seem not to be able to accept it. Like, that makes for a little contradiction, what I believe. Because if you went through that, would you want to live through that, knowing you have to abandon all ability to feel anything about your friends, your parents, your loved ones, your brothers, sisters, siblings, spouses, partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, people you admire, books you like, activities you enjoy, hobbies you do? You could never enjoy them again. This would have been absolutely impossible. Oh, but according to Christians, I abandoned God. Oh, I should have done harder. Well, so and unfortunately, having gone through all this, like I said, the cement has been set. There's a part of me that always believes this darkness in me, that feels this darkness in me. Not that really believes, obviously I'm an atheist, but that always has this. And if I was somehow was able to trigger these emotions again, I don't know what would happen if I got sick again like this. But there are always feelings I have to suppress in me and to keep from letting get built up in me. Almost out of time here. So all that misery, it still leaves something in me that's like this darkness and bleakness that always leaves me anguished in a way. And being around others thinking like, I don't know, language cannot imagine going through all that. How would language be able to express and convey what you've been through? I can't. I still cannot properly convey it to you, because it's weird. If you didn't know me, if you don't know who I am and you're watching this, you might think like, what is this? This has come from another world? How is any of this real? I didn't know at 27 someone could get as sick as I got, because by the time I was pacing 23 hours a day, I forgot what it was like to be a regular person. I was like looking out the window at people driving, and I was like, how can they drive? How can you be a person and not be pacing and in pain 23 hours a day? Screaming. So 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4, 5, 6, 7, noon, 3, 5, 7, 9, maybe getting 30 or 45 minutes of sleep a night. Desperately begging God at times for help, but other times knowing this, I don't believe it's such garbage. So it's just a whirlwind. It was like a tornado or a hurricane of contradictory thoughts and emotions in me that didn't make any sense. Eventually, after 9 months, it was like, I don't know, it just, the fog started gradually dissipating and lifting, and I was able to sort of be myself again. I was like, huh, wow. I was like, I didn't feel relieved or great or anything. I mean, I was glad it was over, but I'm like, okay, well, now that's over, now I got to get to work again. I became a bouncer. Still, the emotions, I've never quite been the same as from that, and I might not be as sharp as I used to be. Not that I was always super sharp, but mentally something, I don't know, affected me. I'll say that. How do you think it would affect you? Answer in the comments. Talk about it. Make your own reaction videos. Christians, if you preach, I'm deleting the comments. You obviously don't respect what I said. Your God's obviously not powerful enough to make something go in your ear and let you understand it and hear it. Instead, it just goes out the other ear. So that's why I left Christianity. My life is so much better for it. I always have this dark, conflict in me, but as like I was saying back there, if I say it's unfair, how can I say it's unfair? That's, to me, disgusting and profane, and that is complaining. It's like, well, obviously this is who I am. I cannot imagine what another life, another way of living would be like. So this made me who I am, so it kind of had to happen this way. And I am grateful that, okay, it makes some things painful, but it makes some things a lot better. So I can feel these emotions in movies so much more deeply. I feel like I can understand people a certain way. I can pick up on things and detect things. And the fact that it's always this conflict in me, of darkness, it's a decision to deal with that. At times, I don't like it. I never like it, and yet I embrace it. Because I am a bit of a masochist. Like, I have to take it. It's just who I am. All right, everybody. This is Angelo, your atheist filmmaker in LA. Let me know what you think.